Education is a means for surviving happily in life. And I'm using both words, surviving and happily.
We learn about life through questions.
How do we shed our desires?
Should a leader try to change such people?
Insecurities start anytime, anywhere, any age.
Their conduct has to be as per their profession.
Does it mean that the family values are somewhere on the downfall?
To answer some of these, Mr. Praveen Mankar, founder of Pratibimb Charitable Trust, brings to you Face to Face. This week, we are talking about education.
Starting from pre-nursery till the time you become probably a PhD or an engineer, you spend almost 2 or 3 decades of your life trying to get a few degrees. Let's try to understand more about the education system. So, sir, what should the actual goal of education be? I don't think it's just getting degrees, right?
What should be the goal of education? Why are we getting educated? So that we have some qualification to be gainfully employed. That is a major purpose of education. But that's a very limited purpose of education. Education should enable you to live a happy life. That should be the goal of education. Make you capable of living a happy life.
Okay. So, in the current scenario, is society playing a very big role in determining what is the right education? Because it seems to be very structured and there are not too many paths as such. So
it may be structured, but is it right? That's the question that you need to ask.
Yes.
If you look at the curriculum, when I say education, it's the formal education that is taught in schools and colleges. If you look at the curriculum, it appears that there is a lot left which is not covered by our current curriculum. And I'll give you a couple of examples. If you look at pharmacy education, medicines, lot of pharmaceutical molecules, dosages are still being taught in the pharmacy education which are obsolete. They are no longer used in the healthcare system, but it's still part of the curriculum. So, when a pharmacy graduate comes out of the college, he is not industry fit or profession fit because he has dealt in theory with subjects which are no longer existing in the society. I think that is the same with engineering. The engineering curriculum has not caught up with the advancement that has taken place in the world. I mean, we are still talking of mechanical engineering and electrical engineering when today the whole subject has gone to electronics and artificial intelligence and so on. So, and I understand that it is not so easy to transit from one system of education to another because there is a lot of red tape and bureaucracy that gets involved before a country's education system can be revamped. So, yes, there is a lot left to be explored and sort of reevaluated before education becomes a meaningful subject.
Right.
It's an evolving subject, just like life evolves. Because life evolves, the knowledge bank evolves. Because the knowledge bank evolves, the education system needs evolution. But unfortunately, our structures do not permit that flexibility in evolution.
Right. Okay. So, coming to a bit of off-topic thing. So, intelligence, something which is required probably to complete your education successfully. Is that something which you are born with or can it be developed? In other words, how much of a role does education play in getting a career or getting a degree?
Have you ever seen a brass pot or a brass article which has been left on the shelf for a number of years?
Yeah.
Yeah, you've seen an old brass object. How does it look?
Black.
Yes, it becomes very dull and shabby to look at.
Yeah.
Can you polish it so that it looks almost like gold?
Yes.
Yes, that is also possible. So, every human being is born with inherent intelligence. When you say intelligence, it is your ability to understand a particular subject. Now, you may have mathematical intelligence, you understand mathematics. Somebody else may have art intelligence, understands color schemes, color matching, designs of shapes and objects and assembling them in an arrangement which a mathematician may not understand, right? Different people are born with different inherent understanding of some subjects. Identifying in what subject your intelligence exists and honing that subject skill is the key. And education should be targeted towards that kind of honing. Unfortunately, my grandfather was a doctor, my father was a doctor, so I should also become a doctor. Do I have the skills to become a doctor? Question mark. But I want to maintain a family tradition. Our whole family has a lineage of doctors, so I must also become a doctor. So I struggle in my life to become a doctor and spend unhappy years growing up. That's not education.
Right. That is also reflecting in the fact that many successful people or businessmen have probably dropped out of school or college.
There you are.
But they are following their ambitions and they're following their passion.
There you are. There is no formal education, yet they are successful in life.
Right.
That means that inherent intelligence, as you would say, street smart.
Yeah.
You know, they never went to any college or university, but they have that street smartness to be very successful in whatever they do in life.
But does it mean that anyone can be successful that way provided they follow their ambitions with focus?
Given the environment, anyone can be successful. I am making a Pareto principle statement. 80% of the time this may be true, 20% of the time it may not be true.
Okay. So, are parents giving too much importance to education in terms of scores and marks and not really looking at the all-round development of their kids nowadays?
It's contextual. If you are saying parents of India, then maybe the statement is true. If you go to parents in Europe, they give a lot of value to sports.
Right.
If you are a great sportsman, you've made your career, you earn in millions. So, if you are saying parents in India, yes, Indian parents are saying, okay, at least acquire a degree, at least acquire a degree. For what? Because they feel that there is a security in having a degree. Tomorrow, if there is a worst case scenario, that degree will enable you to get yourself gainfully employed.
Right. Because it's a bit ironical that in case some kid says, I want to become a javelin thrower, he would have probably been forced into becoming an engineer. But when Neeraj Sharma wins the gold, it's suddenly every parent wants to do the same probably. So
it's true because if you see the sports culture in this country, and I'm talking of the 70s and the 80s, everybody was an employee somewhere and he played the sport part-time, be it a hockey player, be it a chess player, be it a cricket player. These were part-time occupations, and with whatever time available to you after you have discharged your duties in the job, you hone up your skills. Several of our cricket captains were bank employees or employed in some private firms. Today, sports is a profession. You don't have to be qualified formally in a school or a university to become a sports player. People drop out of school to pursue their passion. Very short career span, 10-15 years, you have made your money. How you invest your money and how you live your life is again your ability, your street smartness that enables you to live. So, education is a means for surviving happily in life. And I am using both words, surviving and happily. Because survival is necessary. Unless you survive, you can't do what you want to do. And in whatever you are doing, are you happy or are you unhappy? That's the measure of success. If you are happy doing what you are doing, you are successful.
Right. Okay. So, in schools and educational institutions nowadays, they teach us probably the laws of gravity or something like that, but they don't really necessarily teach us the laws of the universe, like the laws of give and take and cause and effect and stuff. Do you think that is something which should be inculcated from a younger age or for kids, which will help them?
See, you must understand one thing first, that knowledge comes from experience. Our whole education system is theory first and practicals later. It is through the practicals that you acquire the theory. But our system is reverse. We first teach the theory and practicals start coming into our curriculum much later, secondary school. and practicals are not given that much importance by many of the students. The emphasis is not on practicals. That is why in our country the industry-academia relationship has always been nebulous, weak. Yeah, there are some universities which give a lot of importance to that. Of late, there is a healthy interaction between the university and the industry, but it is still not up to the mark. In fact, many of the education institutes can be the backbone of the industry. All the difficulties in the industry should be solved at the university level, and those could become subjects for either post-graduation or even your PhDs. If that kind of education happens, then the student gets a hands-on experience of how to deal in an industrial environment. So, he comes out industry ready because he has done the practical work, and he also has the ability to apply deductive logic, because the inferences have to be drawn from the experiments. Some experiments fail, some succeed. You should be on the ball to be able to derive the right inferences, to make sure that you deliver the results that are expected by the industry, because industry is a commercial activity,
Right.
which also gives you the opportunity to fund your education. So, there is a lot of synergy between practicals and education. Unfortunately, we are divorced. The emphasis on acquiring the understanding and the skill of the subject gets relegated into the background.
Right.
And that is where the whole system of education starts weakening.
Right. So, do you think that, like the pharma industry, which you mentioned in the past, that it's probably becoming more of the focusing on the economics than on the actual goal of it? So, is the educational system also sort of moving towards that angle?
Everything is economics now. It's not only the pharma industry. You look at any industry.
Yeah.
I mean, today, for the sake of knowledge, would you select a career? No, your career selection is based on how much will I earn by doing this. You see the trends. Suddenly, you will have a trend where people are going for chartered accountancy. Why? Because, oh, it's a flourishing business and I can be an independent practitioner. Suddenly, there was a phase everybody wanted to become doctors. Everybody wants to become engineers. Everybody wants to become a sports person. So, these are trends and fashions. It doesn't take into account your inherent skills, abilities, capabilities.
Right. So, the education system has been changing a lot, right? From, say, the Gurukul system in the past to physical classrooms to now we're moving to online classrooms. So, is there any difference in the way education can be imparted better?
The technicalities are changing. I don't know whether the education system has been changing dramatically. Yes, if you compare the Gurukul system versus the installed system by the colonials, the current system of education that we are following is installed by the colonials, replacing the existing Gurukul system. I don't know if there is anybody existing today who has come through the Gurukul system for having a meaningful conversation on this versus that. But even if you see in the installed education system, we are still following age-old practices. The education system has not evolved along with the times. You look at law. You are still learning some laws which hardly have any practical application today. The cultures have changed, the tradition has changed. People are not even following those laws, but the laws exist.
Right. So, we've learned today that education can be in various forms, it can be various degrees, and it can be imparted through various mediums such as online or earlier the Gurukul system. But what is key is that education should be one of the means to make your life meaningful so that you can achieve success in what you want. Thank you.
If you have some questions about life, please connect with us. Do not forget to like, share, subscribe, and press the bell icon for weekly updates.